Hi, welcome back to the channel. Often people ask me if CPP is actually a good deal, and when we talk about CPP for the most part on this channel or on the main K4 channel, we're talking about timing between maybe age 65 or 70. This is not that video. This is a video about the trade you've already made. How much did you actually put into CPP? How much are you getting for it? I have data going back all the way back to 1976. Let's get into it. All right, so I picked 1976 very specifically. Why? Because it has an age 65 birthday in 2023. So for the sake of this example, this person is starting their CPP January 1 of 2024, and we'll say that their birthday is December 31st. They turned 65 just the day before. So back in 1976, the maximum amount that an employee could put into CPP was a mere $135, which almost sounds laughable by today's standards. I got all this information, by the way, from the Government of Canada's website. I'll share that link below if you're interested. And you can see year by year, the maximum amount does continuously climb all the way to 2023's value of $3,754.45. So how much would this hypothetical person have put in total into CPP over this 47-48 year span? I have that summarized here. Their total out-of-pocket, or OOP, is $68,489.60. That's an average of $1,426.87 per year. But what is their benefit coming out of that? The max monthly benefit, which they would have gotten in this scenario because they maxed out every single year, in 2024 is $1,364.60 per month. If we stop right here, which we're not going to, but if we did, and you evaluated this as a strict investment, this is a dynamite investment, right? If you were looking at a rental property, for example, that were to cost you $68,489 and bring you positive cash flow of $1,364 per month, you would jump all over that. It's a fantastic deal. That's why rental properties are not this cheap, because that would be absolutely crazy. If we look with a life expectancy of 83, that means this person would get 18 years worth of CPP. And if we're assuming just a relatively average 4%, or so relatively conservative, I should say, return on investment, that means the present value of getting 18 years at $1,364.60 per month is $209,874. So in other words, if you had, instead of CPP, a $209,000 investment, that would be equivalent. But in my calculation there, I don't factor inflation into this, which means we need to take it a step further, which is what I did in the next couple of tabs. So before we dig too much further into the value of what CPP is actually bringing you and the cash flow, I just want to compare it to investing, because a lot of people bring the idea of, had I just invested what I put into CPP, I'd be way further ahead. And to that thought, I bring the question of, would you? And so here's what I did. I took the $135 that you'd put into CPP, and I made the assumption that that's in 12 equal increments throughout the year. So if we started the year, SOY stands for start of year, with $0 when you're 18 years old, you invested a total of $135 through the year. That's 12 equal increments throughout. You'd end that first year, or EOI, with $138.78. The following year, you'd end the year with $302. After that, $495, et cetera, et cetera. So if we go out and compare the hypothetical present value of CPP being $209,000 from the previous chart, what is it worth when you turn 65 in this case? $205,189.91. That's pretty much dead even. And once again, not a big surprise. Every time I do a video about CPP, I find another way that the government has calculated that it's breaking even at about age 83. Because here the life expectancy that I'm using hypothetically is 83, present value is 209. It would have been worth 205 had I invested. It breaks pretty much even. But of course, if we have a longer life expectancy, like if I change that to 90, now we're taking 25 years of CPP. Now the present value of CPP is 258. Suddenly this is looking like a better and better deal. This is not a surprise either, right? This is why we talk about maybe it's worth delaying CPP, because it gets better and better the longer you live. So let's take it one step further in the next tab. All right, so this is where we're going to bring inflation back into the picture. I have inflation set at 2.5%. So in that first year, they're receiving the $1,364.60 per month, or $16,375.20. And that number increases 2.5% year over year. And this column represents the cumulative amount that they had received over time. So the first thing I want to find is, where do we actually recoup the money that we've put in? And so in this case, starting at 65, you've recouped your $68,500 somewhere between your 68th and 69th birthday. That's pretty good. You're 4 or 5 years into CPP, and that's when you're recuperating that original investment. We can go a step further and look at some relatively well-accepted life expectancy numbers. I'm highlighting 83 and 90. So in the case of 83, you've received $392,000 of total cash flow. It's taxable, of course. And 90, it's almost $600,000, which is, again, a great highlight of how good of a deal CPP is. You've put $68,000 out of pocket and receive nearly $400,000 by the time you hit your life expectancy. That's a pretty great return ratio. Now, of course, if you've watched the channel at all, you know I have a slight bias here where I'm a big fan of delaying CPP to 70, so I wanted to look at that as well. What I did was I simply took the inflated number from over here at age 70 and I increased it by the increase you would have received, which is a 42% bump had you waited. And so instead of receiving $18,000 when you turn 70, you receive $26,000. And in this case, the person is recuperating that original $68,000 in between their second and third year, which is pretty impressive. And if we look out to those same life expectancy figures, so that's age 83 and age 90, now we're looking at $400,000 or $700,000 of cumulative taxable income, again, on a $68,000 investment, which I think is a pretty good trade. So if you haven't figured it out by now, I believe that CPP is a huge foundational piece of almost every, if not all, financial plans that I work on. It's something that you need to make sure you have good rationale behind why you're doing what you're doing with CPP, because it's usually something that you're going to be building on with your assets and investments. So if it's time for me to review your CPP plan or your retirement plan, there'll be a link in the description down below that'll come directly to me. Until next time, keep planning.